Over the last few months, we have seen so much backlash leading up to the release of The Little Mermaid by Disney. We saw the initial trailers, the millions of dislikes. We saw the cast, the crew, the production team, all these people come out and say, if you have a problem with us changing these things, if you have a problem with us inserting identity politics, well, you're just a bigot. You're just a racist. You're just a something. They went to the typical playbook by Disney to try to desperately protect something that was getting a lot of backlash. They pointed at the fan base and they said, if you don't like this, we're going to label you as this to try to scare them. Well, even though here in the United States, that might be something that some people here have become accustomed to. Identity politics everywhere in their movies. And you can see so far the domestic numbers are looking positive for The Little Mermaid. Might slightly overperform their expectations. Unfortunately, they're going to be looking at a global audience. And there's a lot of people out there that are looking at this and they are not digging it. They're looking at something that clearly is full of agenda, that clearly is full of identity politics, and they don't want it to be, no pun intended, part of their world. So when you look at The Little Mermaid, despite its positive domestic opening, at least compared to something like Aladdin, it can't even hold a candle to Aladdin's global opening because of these international numbers. And that could be a massive problem for Disney going forward. And we're even seeing some places like China specifically call it out. The Little Mermaid Chinese state-run media warns Disney to stop pushing racism narrative around fairy tales or they will lose their magic glory. And we're going to get into this. Again, basically a state-run newspaper in China kind of slamming Disney and saying, why are you making all these changes to your classic fairy tales? People don't want to have this stuff pushed in their face. And in fact, if you want to tell these stories, why don't you tell original stories? Why don't you make these things up instead of just stealing them from other people? That's what the Chinese state-run media is saying right now. But it looks like, when you look at China, this is the thing. It's not just the domestic market you're looking at. You're looking internationally. And right now in Asia, this thing is cratering. The Little Mermaid expected to be Disney's biggest fail this year. And I think I will make sure the caveats there when it comes to these international, especially Asian markets. Look at this. If The Little Mermaid is about to crush expectations domestically, it's having a much rougher debut in Asian markets, specifically China, where it grossed a soft 540,000 on opening day, including 4,000 in Thursday previews. In fifth place, even under Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Guardians of the Galaxy is in its fourth weekend of release there in China, and it looks like Guardians is going to easily outpace The Little Mermaid in its opening weekend. There's a complete rejection right now, and it's not even just in China. When you look at places like Korea, which are huge moneymakers for Disney, it's not doing well there either. The international market is not digging this movie so far. And if they want to make money, if they want this to be a big success, because it does, this is something that needs to make $750 million with the reveal of this big budget, maybe even more, just to break even. And China is putting them on blast right now. In an article published this week, Global Times specifically called out Disney for pushing political correctness with the casting in Little Mermaid. Disney's decision to cast a person of color in the Little Mermaid seemingly was made to break stereotypes and promote equality, but so far the negative reactions outweigh the positive ones. The outlet went even further by insinuating the Walt Disney Company is the one creating and spreading the entire racism narrative surrounding the film. The controversy surrounding Disney's forced inclusion in classic films is not about racism, but it's lazy and irresponsible storytelling strategy. Now, you remember, that was a lot of the big complaints when it came to Tinkerbell being race swapped. You saw Black Twitter start to go wild and trend when we saw the trailers come out for that, because they're like, man, maybe could we just get like an original character? Maybe could we stop getting sloppy seconds from all these other characters? And there is some energy around that concerning The Little Mermaid as well. It then questions, if the company truly wants to represent marginalized groups, why not create original stories that reflect their experiences instead of turning classic tales into sacrificial lambs for political correctness? And in the article, it goes on throughout, and talks about how Disney's tried to hide things and how they changed posters for movies for China and all these things. But there's no doubt, despite some positive, I definitely think you could say that's very positive news for Disney when it comes to the domestic box office numbers here in America. Unfortunately, internationally, which is where Disney makes all their money on these live action remakes, keep in mind, Aladdin made twice as much internationally as it did domestically. Lion King made twice as much internationally as it did domestically. Beauty and the Beast, a lot internationally compared to domestically. Little Mermaid right now is having an opposite, an inverted, Right now, Little Mermaid has inverted that, at least for the opening weekend. That's what it's tracking for. If that's the case and it tracks similar to these other things, that would be very, very bad news for Disney because they wouldn't be able to hit these break-even points without those big international numbers. What do you guys think about this? What do you think about Chinese state-run media newspapers slamming The Little Mermaid and calling Disney out for not using original black characters, for not using original characters like this, and instead just race swapping in a very lazy way? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.